everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our Brain Balance Live with Heather Wells, the Hidden Churn. How are you today, Heather?
I'm doing well. My Fitbit told me a few hours ago that I had run a marathon this week, and it's from moving into the woodlands. And I go do a seminar for a school or something. I go unload boxes, go back and do more conduct trainings. But I'm getting my steps in. I'm loving it. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're doing very good. We're getting back into the swing of things. We've been homeschooling our kids this year. We have 3, and so that is a lot of work in and of itself, along with working from home. But we're hanging in there, so I cannot complain.
I want everyone to know what a privilege it was to hear Jen humming that tune, because she is a professional. You want to mention real quick the show you were in?
Yeah, I just closed a show at SeaWorld Orlando. It was called It's a Wonderful Night, and it was a beautiful little take. Well, the inspiration was from It's a Wonderful Life, with angels earning their wings and all those fun things. And I did get to do some acting, some singing. Definitely filled my cup this season.
That's good. No, there were rave reviews on it, so we got to hear just a little snippet there. That was awesome. I know we're talking about perfectionism today, and you were really excited about this topic. You want to tell me why?
Yes, I tried not to look actually at your notes too much, because I kind of want to vibe out with you on this, but I am a recovering perfectionist, as we've talked about before. As a performer, I struggle with it because I just want everything to be perfect, and sometimes that actually stops me from doing anything.
Yes, that's actually so common. It doesn't make it less miserable on the person suffering with that. But sometimes, whether it's a child or an adult, it's like, I feel unmotivated. Is my child lazy? They don't care about anything. And it's like, I care so much that I kind of shut down. I can't live up to this crazy high standard I have.
Yeah, I used to joke that I'm a procrastinating perfectionist. Like, that's kind of like me in a nutshell.
Well, that would be fitting. We're gonna swing right into that today. I want to touch real quick on this. This show has gotten so much attention. I have had many people reaching out about this. Really looking forward to this show. I want to talk really quickly about what perfectionism is not. Perfectionism is not the equivalent of doing your best. It is not the opposite of slacking. It is setting such unrealistic expectations that are virtually impossible to attain. And the number one question we have to ask ourselves, or ask our kids, is this adaptive or maladaptive? Is it hurting me, or is it helping me? You have very high standards as a performer. I have very high standards for myself in my career. I don't even like calling it career. It's like, it's my calling. It's why I live and breathe.
It's your like your reason for being. Like, you feel so passionately about this. And just so everyone that's watching knows, Heather is actually a therapist. She's a board certified cognitive specialist. She's also the National Autism Summit speaker. So like, everything she's talking about is from so much of an amazing background. And it's your life's work.
It is. I really have, most of the people who watch this know I was born legally blind, had tumors on both optic nerves. So I've been the child with sensory challenges that led to issues learning to read and do math and so forth. But one thing that I don't talk about very frequently, and I feel like I want to share it today, because this is a topic that's personal to me also, because I am not a perfectionist. I do have high standards for myself in certain realms, like in my work. But it's because I'm serving other people, and I want to give them everything I have, probably like you on the stage. But it doesn't translate into everything else having to be perfect, and it's not a standard I can't live up to. And I don't beat myself up when I stumble, but I used to. There are a lot of causes of perfectionism. There is a hereditary link, and also a lot of the research with perfectionism is so tied to anxiety. I've never had an anxiety disorder, but it can also be environmental, and that's that's what mine was. My mom struggled with some mental health issues, and it was growing up. I was told how fat I was. You're either lying or you're dumber than I thought. Like, you hear these messages over and over and over, but I would get praised when I brought home a good report card. I would get praised for being the MVP on a sports team. And so I was trying to earn approval by being the best at everything I did. And so I worked through that. Yeah, I was determined to understand the issues she was struggling with intellectually and not just from an emotional place, so that it would not continue to impact my life as an adult. So as a teen, I just started devouring books on this. My college education started when I was a young teen. So it's really important to know criticism or super high expectations of parents. And my mom's came from a place of a mental health issue. Sometimes it comes from, I believe in you, do it, you can be the best, I'm so proud that you're the MVP. These things can seem innocuous, but actually it's not what we say, it's how kids perceive it. That was not the case for me. But for a lot of people, they think they're motivating their kids and showing that they believe in them, but their words put a burden of, I have to do this in order to be approved of.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that with us. I know that's a vulnerable thing. I can see you getting a little choked up even thinking about it. So thank you for being vulnerable to us.
Yes. I mean, people come in and meet with me and lay all the cards on the table, and I would feel very disingenuous if I didn't share that. So yeah. I can't relate to some of the things we talk about on a personal level, although so many of them I can, because I've been the mom, I've been the struggling child, but perfectionism is definitely something I was kind of expected to achieve.
Don't you think sometimes it comes from a place, it's actually coming from a good place sometimes as a parent, because and not a good place, not coming from a good place, but when we're tired, when we're exhausted, when we feel like we're doing everything and no one's helping, and it's easy for us to get critical in those moments when really they didn't do it on purpose, but because we feel tired. Like, so much of what we say is kind of more about us than it is about them. But that's such a good point that they take it on.
Yes. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we're going to get to a slide here in a couple minutes, but I want to share that perfectionism, another thing that may not be known about it, is it is not just about expectations we put on ourselves. Some perfectionism can be other oriented. It doesn't mean if someone is, you can be perfectionistic in one area. Perfectionism is really a continuum. It's not, I am a perfectionist or I'm not. It's, where are you on that scale, and is it adversely impacting your life? And that'll make more sense as we go on, but that is so true. Corey, will you go ahead and pull up the first slide?
We've actually got my husband, Corey, behind the camera today. Bess is tending to her family right now. And so what's up, Corey? A lot of these viewers probably remember. Oh, is he going to hop on?
They definitely remember. This is the first time we've had the whole, that was one and done, in and out, man.
Oh, yeah, come on. This is not my show. Y'all ladies are much more beautiful than I am. Come on. Do your thing. Do your thing. I'll fly the plane behind the scenes. Here.
Thanks for that shot of testosterone real quick. But here is, look at this little girl drawing, and even look at I know her back is to us, but her eyebrows are really intense. No, that sun is not yellow. That tree is too big. That doesn't even look like a person. She is criticizing herself. And you know what? She can't even enjoy what she's doing and be creative. And creativity increases our flexible thinking and problem solving skills. But maladaptive, like clinical perfectionism, means my sense of self-worth is tied to not making mistakes, to being the best. Everything's perfect all the time. And if it's not, I'm afraid I'm going to be abandoned. I'm not loved. I'm not good enough. I don't fit in, etc. And we talked about the adverse impact, but it's the belief that minor mistakes have serious consequences. That's why, one of the reasons why I talk about a growth mindset all the time. Just because you're struggling with this right now, it just means you can't do it yet. And praising character traits rather than the grade, rather than being MVP. Talk about the perseverance that got them there, the character traits that got them there, their kindness, their generosity, etc. But this is a powerful statement. It is, I need to control things, and it's at the expense of flexible thinking, being open. I mean, that could be to other viewpoints, to what the situation really is instead of what my knee-jerk interpretation of it was, and efficiency. So many people get paralyzed in perfectionism. I can't do it just right, so I'm not going to do it at all. We worked with a senior in high school who had a scholarship, a sports scholarship for an Ivy League school, and he was at risk of losing it because if he had written a research paper and he thought he'd get a 94 on it, he wouldn't turn it in. He'd get a 0 because it wasn't going to be 100.
What? That's like to the most extreme. Like
that was extreme. Yes.
Because I can relate to all of these tendencies, actually. Like when you were saying that there's 2 different types, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what type I am, but I'm looking at this little girl and I go, if I'm being honest with myself, when I hear recordings of myself, it drives me insane when I hear any little bit that's off. That's why I prefer live performance sometimes, because I don't have to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it can be, I have high standards for myself. It can be, I arbitrarily have my set of rules that are very rigid that I just expect everyone to follow. And if they don't, they need to be punished, or they're bad and I'm good. Or it can be a socially oriented thing. And that a lot of times has to do with criticism from naysayers. It can be teachers, parents, anybody in the child's life. And a lot of that has to do with social anxiety, body dysmorphia. That can be self also.
Some of that can happen with other kids at school sometimes too. I know that really affected me. Someone made fun of me when I was singing as a kid, and it has affected me my entire life. This one statement that this one kid yelled at me, I have still not forgotten it.
Yes. It's really interesting that you brought that up because there is research on this. And kids who were bullied, gossiped about, teased, have stronger connection to perfectionism than those who have been physically abused growing up.
Okay.
That's the power of our words. There are numerous studies that show this, by the way. That's not just like one random study.
No,
so,
yeah, totally.
Anything like emotional, verbal abuse, mistreatment is harder on us. None of it's good than physical, because you are saying, I am not worthy as a human being.
Yeah.
That's not my body. That's my soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We can move on. So this is cognitive model of perfectionism. So I mentioned that self-worth is overly dependent on striving and achievement. Am I the best? Did I make a mistake? Now, inflexible or double standards. I might hold myself to a higher standard than I hold someone else. I'm talking to my friend. It's like, I could say, man, I'm getting jiggly. I'm not in the shape I used to be in. Age stinks. And they say, look at me. No, you look great.
Be nice to yourself.
That's a double standard. And it can be the other way around. A person can be harsher on another person, but I set the rules. You didn't live up to my expectation for you. You didn't clean that well enough, and so forth. Now, oftentimes, most of the time, sometimes once in a blue moon, these standards can be reached, but a lot of times they can't. But if I fail to meet the standards, if you follow these little lines, I have inflexible double standards. I failed to meet the standard. So different things happen. Now I'm just going to avoid it. Task avoidance, procrastination comes in here. I didn't meet my standard. Now I feel overwhelmed. I just can't do it. I'm not smart enough. I'm just not a math person. I don't understand it. And then they might even feign apathy. I don't even care about this. This goal is not important to me. So that's avoidance. And then I beat myself up for not doing the assignment. Now I'm rushing and it's not going to be my best because I'm actually a perfectionist. Or I temporarily meet my standard. And then I'm like, yeah, I got an A on that paper. It must have meant the assignment wasn't hard enough. So now I am going to scoot my standards even higher, because it's not because I'm smart, because I'm not good enough. So let me set an impossibly high standard where I'm setting myself up for failure. This is subconscious. We don't know we're setting ourselves up for failure. So, but it is based, we're going to look a lot at biased beliefs, assumptions, predictions, biased attention, biased memory, biased attributions. I'll just tell you real quick. So if I believe the sky is orange, and I'm not talking about at sunset, I am going to go find a book that has an orange sky to prove that I'm right. I'm only going to pay attention to the things that confirm what I choose to believe. Okay. Attribution bias is really interesting because I cut you off in traffic. I'm a nice person. I'm in a hurry. I'm being responsible so I get to this meeting on time. You cut me off. What a jerk. We just can willy-nilly assign, or we can do it in reverse. I'm such a bad driver. Oh, it can be either direction, whether depending on if it's self-oriented or other-oriented perfectionism. Predictions. I think I can overpredict what's going to happen. I struggled last year in math, so I am going to fail math this year. Period. That's just an example. Biased memories is very similar to attention. I only remember the bad things that someone said to me and not all of the good, and then it skews how I think they feel about me. Not that I can control that anyway. But those are the beliefs. That's the cognition of it. But our feelings and our thoughts, what do? They lead to behavior, procrastination, or a lot of kids or adults, reassurance seeking. Go to your boss. How did I do on that report? What did you think about it? What did you think about it? Even comparisons with, it's a natural human tendency in some ways. I'm not a big fan of comparisons because we all are beautifully complex, unique individuals that have our own set of strengths and challenges. But it's an innate instinct on some level, somehow, some way, to sometimes compare ourselves to others. It could even be, what is so-and-so making? We have a similar job. It doesn't even mean in a jealous way or in anything like that. But perfectionists tend to compare up or compare down. Most people who don't struggle with maladaptive perfectionism will look for a like-to-like comparison on something. I work out with my friend. What kind of results are you getting? What kind am I getting? We're the same age, kind of working out the same amount a week. That's sort of natural. But I just started going to the gym and I want to lose 40 pounds and I'm going to compare myself to someone who's been working out their whole life. Yeah. And so then I'm going to feel bad about myself because I'm not going to measure up. Or sometimes I will compare down so I can get rid of this just intense distress that I'm feeling. So even comparisons end up looking different. Okay. Where does this start? It is not just about, some of us know certain tendencies we have. I know that I struggle with body image a little bit. It's nothing that really alters my life, but I also know where that comes from. I'm not a perfectionist, but if I had to pick something, I have high standards in work, but not unrealistic. I think I have an unrealistic view of myself on that level because of messaging I had all of my growing up years. But a lot of kids, even a lot of adults, don't know what some of our core beliefs are. And I'm not talking about religious, political. I am talking about as far as our sense of self. It is so important. Most of the time, we will uncover these indirectly. It's not something that we overtly state like I just did. I just kind of blew that theory because I just totally told y'all what mine is.
Well, I feel like when you've studied things as much as you have, and like I've done so much self-work by now in my life, I've discovered a lot of things about myself that I know I did not consciously know. I had to dig to get them out. So
yes, no, I mean, this is my life's work. So if you don't know what some of yours are, I'm the weird one, not you. Okay.
Actually, drop us comments, message Heather, because she would love to help you figure it out if you do have questions.
Yes. So just understand that we're talking about sense of self. We need to understand that our core beliefs about ourselves that are not positive are ideas, not truths. Ideas can be tested, refuted, and they're relative. Relative to what? It depends on context, perspective, and so forth. So 95% of our thoughts are unconscious. Only 5% are conscious thoughts. So I have a conscious belief in this example that I have to be right. And so but that's the only conscious thought. All these unconscious thoughts, belief, I am right, belief, I am a failure. That is why I have to be right. But I don't know that I think I'm a failure. I am stupid. I am worthless. I hate to be stupid. I am wrong. I am stupid. You know, I can't even read that other one. But those are the unconscious beliefs that give me that overt thing that I have to be right.
I have that so bad. I am so textbook. It's not even funny.
And you see how I have that thought. I'm wrong. I'm stupid. That scares me. I have fear. I'm right. That brings on pride. You can see how our thoughts directly translate into emotions.
Yep. Totally.
Okay.
I'm so interested to, since I didn't peek at your slides, since I wanted this to mostly be a surprise. I'm so interested. Are we going to go into what you said with it being hereditary partly, or do you want to
I was just going to touch on that at the beginning. If you have questions, we can, but I will tell you that the research on perfectionism is in a lot of ways in its infancy, but a lot of what we know, there are very specific studies. Anything I tell you is backed by research, but a lot of what we know about perfectionism is also based upon research about anxiety and depression and so forth, because these are co-occurring conditions. I mean, procrastination is a form of anxiety, and it brings on more anxiety. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We know that the neurotransmitters are altered. The chemicals in the brain that impact how we feel and think and behave and so forth are different in kids who have neurodevelopmental challenges, or in adults who are neurodiverse. So if you have any questions, let me know. There was so much to get to as far as this is what's going on, and here are some strategies to start making it better. But we know that it is what the research says right now is that it is moderately heritable. And there are many studies that show that.
Okay.
And then that's even further, that is even further strengthened by the research on all of these co-occurring conditions. So
this is so fascinating to me.
Now, this was when I was planning on mentioning other oriented. It just fit in earlier, which I love. But it's really important to understand that we can be not hard on ourselves and hard on other people in a perfectionistic way. So I set the rules arbitrarily. Nobody really knows why I have the right to do that, because they're not just about my life. They're ones I'm imposing on other people. And so look at these kids. You're out. I said red light and you kept moving. No, I'm not. You fail to recognize that I'm not using your red and green signals as my primary indicators, but simply to support my decision-making process. Like, you know, that's how important I am.
Oh my gosh. This is Roger, 100%.
But understand that there is a reason why we see perfectionism and anxiety in individuals with ADHD and different learning challenges, social emotional behavioral struggles, because social emotional learning, being able to have cognitive flexibility, take on the perspective of someone else, look at things from different vantage points, is impaired when the communication in the brain is not what it needs to be. So if I could put myself into these playmates' shoes, I'd be like, they're not going to like me very much. And this is really rude. How's that making them feel? But it must be this way. And I should have done this. This can be, you should have done that, or I should have, and I'm going to beat myself up about it. I want, therefore I must have that sense of entitlement. I must be thoroughly competent at all times, or else I'm incompetent. Black and white, all or nothing. You must behave as I think you ought to, or else there's something wrong with you. You must treat me with respect and kindness, or you're a bad person and should be punished. This sounds almost slightly humorous because it sounds over the top, but this is real.
It doesn't, you know why? It doesn't say, it sounds like, unfortunately for me, I mean, now I can admit it because I'm recovering, but this is my head. Poor Corey Warren.
Yeah.
He's able to listen right now. I'm so sorry.
But things must be comfortable and not frustrating, or life is awful. All or nothing. How many of you have kids where everything's great, one thing happens, drop of a hat, holy cow, total breakdown, and you're like, what just happened? Yes. We've talked so many times about giving kids multiple words for what they're feeling because they start experiencing it on a different level. But also, we don't want to shelter our kids from uncomfortable emotions. They must know that life is uncomfortable sometimes, and they don't need to be shamed if they're sad or frustrated. You also feel that way. But these have to be very overtly taught things for so many of our kids. Okay. Now, we want to retrain our thoughts. Remember when I said only 5% of our thoughts are conscious? Yes. I want to give an example. And on another show a while back, I talked about the Socratic method. When you're trying to talk to your kids about something, what happened? How are you feeling? I don't know. Why are you upset about school? I don't know. We don't accept. I don't know. Why do you can say, I think it's because, and well, I think it's because Bobby didn't talk to me. Well, why do you think Bobby didn't talk to you? Well, I think because what did you do? It takes about 5 layers deep of why and digging questions to get to the real deal. So many times when you're getting very generic responses from kids, we need to do the same thing with core beliefs. So on the right here, let's say this guy, his boss said, hey, you're in charge of organizing the conference for the company, which might be an honor, but he's like, what? Me? Are you serious? Doesn't look happy. What does that mean? I lack poor organizational skills. I don't know how to get work done, how to get people to cooperate with me in teamwork. And then you, as you're talking to kids or to yourself, maybe journaling this or talking with a significant other or just with yourself, thinking through this, assuming that is true, that you don't know how to get people to work as a team, you do struggle with organization. Why is that so bad? People will come to the conference and see how badly it's organized. That's why. Well, why would that be so bad? Well, then they're going to think I'm not capable. Well, what would that mean? I am a failure. There is the core belief, and it takes several whys to get there. We have the automatic thought that's like, me? Are you kidding? I don't know how to organize, and I'm not a team leader. Why? I am a failure. That is a core belief.
So what, how do we get to the bottom of this with our kids?
That's what you want to do. If they are asking, if you want to, it is called the 5 whys. Whatever you're talking about, whether there is some sort of altercation and you're trying to figure out, he said, she said, and what's going on, and why are you upset, or why aren't they doing their homework? Whatever the topic is, a lot of times kids will be like, I don't know, and it's, you need to have a house rule that we don't accept I don't know as an answer. You can say, I think it's because, and then tell me what you think. And then they answer that question. You keep digging. Well, how did that happen? Why? You will, as a parent, you're going to know what those 5 whys are. Like, why are you so upset when they come home from school? Bobby wouldn't talk to me. Well, why do you think Bobby wouldn't talk to you? Well, he wanted to talk to the other boy instead. Well, why do you think he wanted to talk to the other boy instead? Well, maybe because I, pushed him at the water fountain. Well, why did you push him? How do you think that made him feel? Well, it probably made him da-da-da. Well, what, you do that 5 layers. Now you know the story. But that's what we need to do to get to our core beliefs. That tells us so much about how kids see themselves, how we see ourselves as adults. Yeah. And then we must retrain our thinking. We do not, it is not effective to tell ourselves not to think about XYZ. If I say, don't think about an elephant, first thing that pops in your head is an elephant. We need to replace it with something else. So as an example, if this lady is in that situation, everyone is going to be looking at me. What are they thinking? They're going to be judging me. I didn't do a good job at the conference. And now that's my automatic thought. I'm going to counter that. It is so powerful to journal this. This is how I completely changed my life. What I shared earlier with y'all, that those ruts of thinking were ingrained in my head because I heard them every day of my growing up life. I would write down the negative thought about myself, and then I would counter it with at least 2 things I knew intellectually to be true, even if I did not feel it in that moment. And did I enjoy doing it? No. Was it worth it? It absolutely transformed my life. Every single time a negative thought about myself would come in, I wrote down what I knew to be true. It could have been from something a teacher said. It could be something from I know this isn't true because I know this about myself. Whatever it is, what starts happening when you write down 2 arguments for the false belief that's going on, that's ingrained in your head, is I noticed that I would be going about my day, that thought would start and it would stop. It didn't even finish until the thoughts stopped coming. This rewires your brain. It is a life-changing thing. It is tedious at first. It is worth it.
Can you get kids to do that? Like, because actually, my daughter, who doesn't struggle with the same struggles, she does have some of these negative thoughts about herself already. Do you stop a teen in the moment and say, stop what you're doing? That's not true. So write down that thought and then write 2 positive things about yourself. Do they have to relate to the topic?
It needs to be related to the topic to be most effective.
Okay.
So, and some experts will say write 4 arguments for it. That's better, but I don't think there's going to be as much sticking to it if you do that.
Sure.
So I'm trying to be, let's meet in the middle, and 2 is doable.
Yeah.
More than write 4 things.
Agreed.
But most people are just worried about themselves and I don't know what they're thinking. It's more likely not about me.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm enough. I'm safe. So had the bad thought, replaced it with something else. But kids have to be emotionally regulated enough to be able to do that process. So if something happens and they're kind of spiraling on this, do something, whether it's settling time. I have this little boy down here, because another thing you could do is, depending on the age, you can blow bubbles or even imagine blowing bubbles. And every time you pop a bubble, those bad thoughts go away. Or leaves on a stream. Close your eyes and imagine leaves going down a stream and place your thoughts on those until they roll away. Those are some good sort of mindfulness and techniques to do.
Those are beautiful. I love that.
That leaves on the stream. I mean, what a peaceful thought too, All right, we can move on. So make sure the kids understand emotions. Emotions are not good or bad. They're telling you something. If kids have body awareness issues, they're going to have difficulty feeling that tension in their shoulders or that knot in their stomach, maybe sometimes. So we always have like these physical little indicators. Oh, my heart rate's getting up. I'm getting hot physically. That means I'm getting irritated and I need to do a calming technique before it goes all the way to a 10. So understand that a lot of kids can't pick up on those body signals if they have sensory issues. But if they don't, body map, where are you feeling in your body? Here's what you do. Deep breathing, go for a walk, tell a joke, talk it out, whatever those things are that you work out with your kids. And another thing I really like that makes it concrete is to understand anxiety is often an overestimation of a threat. I'm trying to give y'all different age levels of things to do. An underestimation of our ability to cope with it and handle the consequences. So you could even have boxes and write reality and how I see it right now. And they can start saying, the way I see it is bigger than what this box actually is. And you're still empathizing, but we're talking about from a cognitive perspective, their thought process about it is different. We don't tell them not to feel what they're feeling, but our thoughts are what lead to those big emotions.
So we shouldn't because I know I could totally be guilty of saying like, oh my gosh, there are so many bigger problems in the world right now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's hard not to say things like that sometimes.
We want to empathize with the feeling, but help them come up with 2 more words that probably more accurately depict what's actually going on and the difference in them. So now that we've talked about those, how do you think you're feeling? And when kids have words for a broader range of emotions, they start behaving in a broader range of ways. If my sock got a hole in it, I don't throw a tantrum that's a 10. It's a 6 or a 5 or a 4 as I mature, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, Corey. And I love this so much. Corey laughed so hard because I showed Superflex and Rock Brain a while back because we need flexible thinking. A huge part of perfectionism almost always has some level of our brains are not fully capable of cognitive flexibility, as in the case with the kids we work with, or we have it, but work too hard, stressed out, not necessarily using it in that moment. And again, we want to make abstract concepts concrete for kids. So a great idea is to talk about what rigid and flexible mean, but have them go on a scavenger hunt or look around the house or look in magazines and cut out things that are rigid, popsicle stick, things you can bend, hanger, whatever it is. Have them gather things and start understanding, look, this won't move, and I see things this way and my mind's not going to change. Start relating it to brain and thinking. Look, this molds and bends. Oh, when this brain finds out more information, it changes its mind. It has a different perspective. There are so many different ways to do this. Hey, here's a problem, whether it's in a movie, a book, real life. Give me 2 possible solutions for that. Or even make hypothetical scenarios. You ask your friend to help you with the homework and they say no. What are 2 or 3 reasons why that might be? Not just one. You're growing their cognitive flexibility. But that's such a good mantra. A lot of people will say, stop and think. Add flex to it. Stop, think, flex as a reminder. That would be such a great poster in everyone's house.
I love it.
When you have flexible thinking, you start realizing what you can and can't control. Y'all have heard me talk about this before. When I try to control everything in the world as part of perfectionism, that leads to more anxiety because you cannot control everything. And that means I'm failing because I didn't reach my standard of controlling everything.
Right.
So talk to kids about what they can and can't control. I won't do a deep dive on this because I've talked about it on a couple other shows in different contexts, but that's part of flexible thinking. Okay, Corey.
Love it. I love the analogy of the rigid things versus the flexible things. That's a great tip.
And if y'all can look up super flex, there's a series of books and different activities. You can just Google that. Super flex is a superhero who has flexible thinking, and then his friend is Rock Brain, and that they're the cutest books, cutest materials. So, other strategies, if everything's a catastrophe, the whole day is ruined now, everything is shot, teach them to find the humor in it. This is going to be such a funny story to tell one day. This always happens to me. All of that all or nothing, black and white, everything always goes wrong in my life. Thank goodness I didn't fall and hurt myself. Perspective. You still empathize with the feeling, but we're working on the thought process, not telling them not to feel the way they're feeling. This will change the way they emote by doing this. Mind reading. Everyone thinks I'm a clumsy idiot. I mean, think about if I did a seminar yesterday for a school in Austin. If I had perfectionism on that delivery, if somebody got up and left the room, didn't happen. But just as an example, if I'm perfectionistic about that, I might feel rejected. They're leaving. They're not enjoying the seminar. Somebody's frowning. We don't know what text they just got. There might have been an emergency. Maybe they have to use the restroom.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they had a preset appointment. What is another way to think about this? That's what we need to be asking ourselves and our kids. What
if
else?
Somebody gets up or if an audience isn't laughing as much as I feel like they should when I'm performing something that's supposed to be funny, I assume could be 20 other people in the show, but I assume that I am not funny.
Girl, I can't wait to get to the pie chart. We're going to, I can't wait, honey. Okay. But so just to summarize these steps, identify what the thoughts are. Now, understand that the subconscious thoughts, we can identify those, but if we identify the conscious thoughts and we start asking ourselves or our kids, why, we get to that core belief. Challenge it. I am, whatever it is, I am a failure. I'm not smart enough. Tell your kids to find evidence that proves it's not true and to write it down, journal it, like we talked about a minute ago. Rewrite how you feel about yourself, and it needs to be accurate. It doesn't mean that you feel that way, but intellectually you're starting to see yourself in a better way. And aside from this, there's a ton of research about mindfulness. There is not specific research about mindfulness as it pertains to perfectionism specifically, but since perfectionism is extremely tied to anxiety and sometimes depression, and we know mindfulness works with that, sometimes just be present in this moment. Smell the breeze, listen to the birds chirping, be in the moment, get grounded back in the present, and let that other stuff wash away. And sometimes it is okay. This isn't always a go-to, but sometimes we have to pick our battles. distract yourself from it. You've got this stuck thought pattern. Go do something healthy. Don't distract yourself with something unhealthy, but go for a walk, call grandma, do something meaningful. And you might have better perspective when you come back to it. Okay. And I just wanted to show you, you can also do little columns like this. I'm not going to read all of these, but what was the situation? What were my perfectionism thoughts? What were my behaviors? And how was I feeling? Or I can think about the event. What are my beliefs going into it? Because I'm predicting. I'm a mind reader. I already know how this is going to go. What were my feelings before? Now, what I was believing and feeling about that, if a friend told me they were feeling that way, what would I say to them? Is there another way of viewing the situation? Now, how do I feel after I've reappraised this? And then let's say that someone thinks that it's if I blush, it's the end of the world. I mean, that's a thing. Or if I sweat in public, it's devastating. This would be a social anxiety thing. We need to start, or sometimes people might have a scar, and so I'm going to wear turtlenecks even though it's 100 degrees outside. We need to start exposing them to their fear in baby steps. So have a situation, predict how it's going to go. In a little baby step, I didn't want to go to this party, but I went ahead and stopped by for 5 minutes. What was the outcome? What did I learn from that? We have to have we have to have exposure to the things we fear, and we have to learn to accept if individuals have anxiety disorders, there are many things we can do to decrease it, but sometimes you just have to accept it and just put it in its place, where it belongs. The less we try to control anxiety, the more we do control it, ironically.
I know that is, yes, that's so interesting.
It is. So this is called a diary. Yeah, like a perfectionism diary. Okay, we're almost done here, but I think the next one is what I wanted to show you, Jen. Yep. Okay, pie chart. My team lost and it's all my fault. The crowd isn't, so this is a real thing. So let's say that football team lost. It is all my fault. All is 100%, right? What else could account for the team losing? The other team is really good. Well, how much do you think that accounts for? 35%. Several of our players had an off game, just one of those days. That was another 35%. Their trick plays worked. They did an onside kick. They got it. Everything just kind of fell that way. The referee missed 2 pivotal calls. The wind impacted our field goal attempt, or else we would have made that. Lost by 2 points. Guess what? That adds up to 100. There's no such thing as 200% of the reason you lose a game.
It's so true.
Jen, meet the pie chart, honey.
I don't even know anything about sports ball, but I understand this pie chart in a completely different way, and it is so accurate for what could help me get out of that negative type of taking all the burden mindset.
Yes. And, even for younger kids who don't know how to do percentages, they can still fill in this with all the other reasons. Like we came up with 5 other reasons that and we're not talking about bad sportsmanship and them being mad at referees. We're talking about people who are beating themselves up, and it's still sportsmanship. But reality, like missed that call. Both feet landed in the end zone, that's in the NFL.
True. It's true. Even if you have the last opportunity, even if you were the one who had the last opportunity to maybe help the team win and you missed it, it's not just that one thing. My dad is a coach, and he used to say that all the time about
it's never one thing. Yeah. My dad was the football commentator in Alabama, and then when we moved to Texas, and I didn't know I was a girl till high school, I think. So Corey, we're almost done. I want to show a couple things just super fast because there's a couple resources and stuff. So the book Messages by Matthew McKay, y'all have heard me talk about New Harbinger so many times. He wrote this book. It is about communication and how to be assertive without being aggressive. This is such a good book. Highly recommend. Nobody's Perfect, a story for children about perfectionism. You see the author there. When Perfect Isn't Good Enough, Overcoming Perfectionism. These are like self-help books. And The Mindful Way Through Anxiety. Break free from chronic worry and reclaim your life. That is not specific to perfectionism, but perfectionism is so anxiety-based.
I love that. And it looks like you've kind of covered all bases in regards to like different ages of children and adults.
Yes. New Harbinger books are so fantastic because they have content and then they have exercises to do. I have seen so much transformation doing that with the older kids over the years. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, that's so good. Oh, good. And we have our brain balance centers up there, including the Woodlands. Are you open at the Woodlands now?
No, I believe it's going to be next week. Contractors are having to finish up a couple of pretty important things.
That's important.
But the equipment and furniture is in there.
Amazing. So you can find the help that you need at any of these locations, or as always, follow the hidden churn. As we said earlier, make sure you find Heather because she just loves to help the community. And as we said before, this is her life's work and her passion. She has helped our family out greatly and tirelessly. And I'm always just in awe of your commitment to this and your knowledge.
I'm in awe of who you are as a human being. I'm so like you and Corey. I just are two of my favorite people on the planet. And thank you so much for being my teammates here and doing this with me.
It is truly an honor and a pleasure. So thank you so much, Heather. And we will see you all next week. And I think next week starts our new time. Yes.
It does. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Mondays at 2:00. The Tuesday 3:30 show is moving to Mondays at 2:00. But my time with Dr. Brian is sticking with Thursdays at 3:30.
Perfect. And do you have that this week as well?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. All right. Make sure that you check that out, guys. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye, Heather.